So please give it up for Jen.
I love the art so much, and I love the music so much, so wow, blew me away, so exciting. I'm so happy to be here, and I hope you're not going to be in a schnitzelkoma. I heard this as a word, a schnitzelkoma. So no schnitzelkomas, not yet, later. All right. So I made some very pretty slides for you, and I hope it inspires you a little bit to get a little creative as you're building apps, as you're building maybe mobile apps, which is my personal thing that I love to do, and as you're eating and drinking. So in the Vue community, I'm known as the drunk auntie. So that's me. I'm Jen Looper. I'm a developer advocate lead at Microsoft, and I'm the founder and CEO of Vue Vixens. And Vue Vixens is a initiative that we started in the Vue community to kind of encourage diversity. We just did a really cool full-day workshop yesterday with a full room of awesome ladies who wanted to learn Vue, and we ended up making a really cool app all together. So that was super. And if you're interested, talk to me about getting involved. We are happy to have help from all over the place, and we have worldwide chapters at this point. So it's really great. You can follow me on Twitter at Jen Looper, and I'm sure that iTunes is going to bother me. I am a winophile, which means I like wine. I'm also, new word for all of us, I'll bet, I'm a turophile. So these are people who also like cheese, and I have a plate of cheese. I was just at DevFest Nantes, and I schlepped some cheese over here for you from France. I have been smuggling cheese since I was 16, going from France to the US, usually in my socks. And but this cheese is so smelly, so I'm just going to stay over here and let the pungency sort of waft your way. It's a lot to deal with, okay. So I would like to know who it was who thought it was a good idea to take some grape juice and let it go bad, and then let milk get moldy and solid and squish it down and let it kind of sit around, and then taste it. That's just heinous. It's kind of like the same guy who decided to eat an oyster the first time. Like, who was this person? Well, I really think that we should give them a medal. As we'd say at Microsoft, we're going to make them an MVP, because that was an amazing thing to do. So, spectacular. So this app was inspired a little bit, this talk was inspired a little bit about me wandering through the App Store, as I do on occasion, seeing what's new, and realizing, great, there are excellent wine apps. I think we've already talked about this one, Vivino, today, or maybe yesterday. Maybe Vanessa talked about it. They're great wine apps. People really depend on this to kind of remember what they're drinking. That didn't actually come out the way I intended it to come out. Oh man, it's like awesome. Take a picture and save it for later. Yes, so there are great wine apps, and there are actually some pretty decent cheese apps. There's the #1 app for fromage fanatics. It's very nice, and there's a lot of information online in these apps about either wine or cheese. But what do you do when, for example, I was in this incredible restaurant in Paris, and here comes this monster cheese cart. And this is 20 euros extra that they're going to whack onto my bill to have the privilege of taking slices off this cheese cart. So you better optimize. You need to know what you are doing, when you pick the cheeses that you want. So this is a very important moment in your life when the cheese cart is coming at your head, and you're like, oh my God. So the people behind here, the Californian in the scanty dress, she had no idea what she was doing. So it was like... But anyway, and what do you do when you're wandering in a French grocery store like I do on occasion and just start videotaping cheese, just sort of making boomerangs of cheese, fromage. Or what do you do when you start to look at people like Charles de Gaulle here who said, how can you govern a country that has 246 varieties of cheese? This is an actual quote from Charles de Gaulle, who knew what he was talking about. Word up, that is absolute truth. I'm going to just take 1 second because iTunes is going to frickin' drive us all nuts. Go away. Okay. Yes. Kill it. Okay, so how can you enjoy cheese to the fullest? Well, of course, you have to pair it with the proper wine, right? This is hopefully, in a lovely park in Austria or somewhere awesome like that. You need a pocket sommelier, right? This is a white. Yes. I love this. Or, even more useful than that guy, you need WineUP. This is the app that I built for you, your wine and cheese education in an app. It's your pocket sommelier. Okay, so we have this beautiful art that I designed for you in Procreate, and we've been all sketchnoting in Procreate. It's the greatest piece of software for an iPad that I've ever dealt with. So make a lovely splash screen, and with just a little bit of CSS and a nice native script app. Jesus Christ. Quit. Force quit. What else do I need to quit? No? Okay, the rest is good. Yeesh. Sorry, friends. I haven't even been drinking. All right. That's what you need. You need your wine and cheese educator in a mobile app, because you're going to be wandering around Paris in a grocery store, and you need to be able to figure out, what you're looking at. So we're going to do that today. We're going to build such an app. I'm going to show you how I built this app to identify cheese and suggest wines to pair. So this app has 4 parts, right? There's the wine of the day screen. There is the ability to discover the top 10 wines per variety as you're looking for the best Chardonnay that money can buy, as according to its rating. And we're making a screen to learn about cheese varieties and how they pair with wine. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then here's where the machine learning comes in, because you're going to take your app, take a picture with your phone to identify a variety of cheese, figure out what type of cheese it is, and then go and pair it with some wine in the other screen. So we're going to build this app, or at least I'm going to show you how I already built it, because that would be kind of a lot to do in one half-an-hour session. So I'm not, that live coding amazement that we already saw earlier today. But anyway, so what you need for this sort of thing is a nice development stack. So what I use is native script view, and this is a project started by actually a 19-year-old kid in Budapest, and he is amazing. He's a very good friend, and he saw that we have native script, which is a way to use web technologies to build native mobile apps for iOS and Android. He liked Vue, and he thought, I'm going to just port native script and so we can use it with Vue. Well, that is freaking fantastic, because that's when Auntie Jen pricks up her ears and says, I'm going to developer advocate the hell out of that, because that's amazing. So that was my job, and we kind of raised this up to be a great community project within the Vue community. And then a really great thing to do is to have a nice backend. And a very good backend to have with this stack is Azure Functions. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to get the mobile app going, and then we're going to make an API with Azure Functions. Okay, first thing you need to do is you need to have native script installed via the CLI. So you're going to just type in tns create and then the name of your app, whatever you decided to call it. I decided to call it WineUp. And you go ahead and scaffold your app, and here we are. It's just, golly. And it's going to install some packages and then ask you what you want to use. You want to use Angular? Good God almighty. Why? Cancel culture. Yes. I feel like this is when Microsoft comes and uses Chrome and Apple devices. So everybody relax. All right, scaffold the damn mobile app. Great. At this point, you have a nice, if you run it in your emulators, because you have Android Studio and Xcode installed, you're going to be seeing a very basic mobile app cross-platform scaffolded up for you. So that looks fantastic. So at this point, I like to create my own tab navigation so that I can have like a basic app with 4 pages. If you've got more than 4 pages, you probably want to use a side drawer, but I like to create custom-built tabs because I really don't like native tabs the way they look. On Android, they're on top, and on iOS, they're on the bottom, and that's hideous, so we're not going to do that. So we just built our custom tabs here, and we're using native script modules. So this is a grid layout, and inside is a component, and we're going to be injecting our pages into this component within this grid layout. So this is the actual tabs on the bottom. So you're going to tap the button, and the page is going to change. So that works really nicely. And then this is the secret sauce that I'm going to impart to you all. This is how I style things. I rip out most of the CSS that comes with these apps, rip out all the Sass, and I just do just a few custom styles that will really get you far in a mobile app. So I just pick a nice font that that looks good, create cards with a nice thick border radius, and then add a little bit of, do I have it in here? But I also like to have a little bit of gradient on the cards. So that is basically the way I style a mobile app, and it really will get you far, just a little bit of CSS. So for those of us who are not the greatest designers in the world, this works really, really nicely. So at this point, your app architecture looks like this. You have 4 pages, 2 modals, a home component, you have some nice fonts installed, and you're going to use the Vuex store. So this is going to help me maintain my state as I wander from page to page to page in my app. I also need to install Firebase, and we're going to come back to this, why I need to use that. That's where the machine learning comes in. Okay, at this point, we basically have an app scaffolded, we have the tabs built, we have our pages kind of mocked up, and this is kind of boxed wine and cheese slices. So in the US, our cheese is literally so bad that you have to put pasteurized processed cheese food. Like the government says you have to mark it as food, because otherwise no one would know. So we also have wine in boxes. This is another thing. So well, let's just move on past that. So that was the very basic level of building a mobile app. I swear to God if it's going to start up again. Okay. Can you live with it? This has actually never happened before to me. Okay, cancel. Cancel. All right. If you managed to learn anything today, congratulations, because this is so messy. Okay. Step 2, build the Wine of the Day screen and the Wine Educator screen. Now, when you start building out your screens with a lot of data behind it, you need to figure out where the data is going to come from. We had a really nice talk on privacy this morning, so now we've kind of degenerated into machine learning and scraping data off of Kaggle. So here we are. When I need data, I go to Kaggle. Any Kagglers in here? People who love to hang out in Kaggle? Super fun place for data scientists. You can find amazing things, including 3 of my data sets. I have Emily Dickinson's poetry, the Beatles lyrics, and some of the wine stuff that I've done. Oh, and cocktails. Cocktails are on there too. You see a pattern. Okay, so here we are. But I didn't have to do anything because somebody already put 130,000 wine reviews scraped out of the Wine Enthusiast magazine into Kaggle, and they're available for download in a really big spreadsheet. So that's all available for you. So I took those and I dumped them right into an Azure storage table, which is a good place for easy querying of data. You could also use Cosmos DB, but that's a little bit more featureful for something that I just needed to be able to just query. So I used the storage tables for that. And now comes some really cool things, and it's not just because I work at the company that I think this is cool, but it's actually cool. It's really easy to build an API by yourself. I was really excited. I built an API all by myself and got at my data using Azure Functions. And there's some really great tooling within Visual Studio Code. You can do all of this stuff locally and then port it up to Azure. It's really, really nice. So you can go ahead and create a function to query the table for a wine that corresponds to your date. So here I just created a little function to figure out a unique date for the day that we're looking at, and then just query the table where the row key equals that day month value. So very, very simple Azure function, and it creates a little API endpoint for you. Same thing for getting your top, it's actually not 10, it's top 5 wines, I think. Yeah, where the ranking is a 9 out of 10. So those are very high ranked wines, and there's so many of them, you may as well get the ranking high. So all I'm doing is I'm passing in the type of wine that I want, like the Chardonnay, and then I'm getting the top 5 very highly ranked wines. So I just created, very, very simply, 2 API endpoints. I was actually really excited. It was actually really easy. And then just deployed it up to Azure. So you can just take a look at how, how the data comes out when you query the endpoint. At this point, you can use it in your app, and you're going to be using async methods because there are some cold starts with Azure, and you need to kind of account for that, especially in a mobile context. So you just grab your data, get your daily wine. Here's where you're displaying the data. So here, again, I'm using NativeScript modules to create a stack layout, a label of the wine. This is for the home screen. Label for the wine and where it's coming from, and then it's going to show some information about the wine, including the winery it's coming from, the price, and then a little slider to show how many points it has. So let's take a look at the demo of how it looks. Yes, actually. It's my computer. Oh, no. No, everyone shut your eyes. Okay. Okay. So here is my iPhone, and this is the wine of the day. So that's what it looks like. And let's see. So that is nice. Very nice. Actually, I also want to show you while I'm at it, the second screen here, which we also built. So this is the screen that shows you your top 5, wines. And we're having a little bit of issues with the demo. Come on, Moodle. There it is. So these are the top 5 Chardonnays. There's a lot of Napa Valley in here. Yeah. What's a Chablis doing in here? Well, that's weird. Anyway, all very educational. Okay, those are the 2 screens I wanted to show you. So that's very nice. And I lost my cursor. Great, okay. All right, step 3, we're gonna build a cheese educator. So here's where we start thinking about our cheese. We've got our wine taken care of, let's start looking at our cheese. So here, all we need is a JSON file, and Vuex to save the state so that you can take a look at your modals. But first, I wanna just take a small intermission, and I'd like to have a brief word from our sponsor. Have you ever done this to your cat? The poor cat. It's terrible. I'd like to, kind of knock at your door and say, do you have a few minutes to talk about cheese, So let's talk about our Lord and Savior. Cheese. Cheese is a dairy product, really, formed by the coagulation of the milk protein casein. It's created from cows, buffalo, goats, or sheep. There are over 1,000 types of cheese from various countries. Cheese has been produced since ancient times. According to legend, the demigod Aristeas invented it along with beekeeping and may have taught Dionysus winemaking. So that's quite interesting. So there's a clear connection, because this is absolute fact. Its origins are mysterious, but there have been traces found in Egyptian tombs. And my question is, who opened that box and tried that cheese? Because that's random. And it's a predominantly European and Middle Eastern and Indian creation. It's basically, you've got a lot of milk, you need to figure out what to do with it. Let's just let it rot and wish for the best. Sounds great. But cheese is now a world food. Fun fact, I just got back from Tokyo, and you can get a camembert. Yes, it is a $20 camembert, but they have camembert in Tokyo, and it's starting to become kind of popular. It's kind of interesting. But cheese is actually really hard to categorize. So the Wine magazine offered a classification of 6 basic standardized types of cheese: fresh, bloomy, washed rind, semi-soft or semi-hard, depends on how you call it, hard, and blue. I'm sure you can kind of imagine in your experience, what these types are. I was happy to be in a bar in New York City, and the menu reflected these categories, so I felt a little bit vindicated and justified that these are actually the 6 things that the 6 types of cheeses that we have. Okay, let's take a look at the demo on this. So here we are at the cheese screen. All right. So here are our 6 types of cheese. We have a nice scroll here. So bloomy cheeses, named for the bloom of white mold on the outside. They are the richest and creamiest type of cheese, and then it gives you some ideas of types of cheese, like this is a camembert, Crottin de Chavignol, and then they have the types of wines that are good with it. So this is all great information to display. Fresh cheese is like mozzarella. And let's see, I think there's blue cheese, veins of blue mold. It sounds really good. Yeah, it is good. We love it. So how did I build this? Well, this is really straightforward, actually, because I just had to import some data and saved it as a JSON file. The source is, like I said, Wine Magazine, so a little bit different from Wine Enthusiast. But Wine Magazine, it gives these descriptions and gives you some examples of what they are and pairing. So I just saved that in a JSON file, imported that JSON file in my app, and displayed it in yet another stack layout. So those images that you saw are just a stack layout. And you can tap on one of the images, and you'll get the type of cheese that we're looking at. So it's really, really straightforward. It's kind of cool to think that you're developing a mobile app with these little bits of snippets of code, and it'll be running cross-platform for iOS and Android. And you're still writing JavaScript, so that's really nice. It is really nice. Clink. Okay, now the rubber hits the road, and it gets much more interesting because we are going to build a cheese classifier. So here's where we get a little bit complex. Because when you think about it, it's not so easy to tell by sight what kind of cheese you're looking at, right? If you think about going in the grocery store, I ask you, what is this? So for those of us who have hung out in Amsterdam, you've seen this kind of thing. This is Gouda, or Gouda cheese. The thing is it's all Gouda, but it's Gouda at different stages of its lifespan. So from young to medium to old and crunchy. So, and the old crunchy, there's these little crystals inside, these little flavor crystals, and it's really good. So, yeah. It's very nice. Well, if it's hard for humans to tell what you're looking at and classify, that that's a semi-soft cheese and that's a hard cheese, well, maybe computer vision can do better. What about, let's try a generic image service to classify specific types of cheese. So actually, that's a big fail, because you try to run this stuff through any kind of non-custom model. This is some Valençay cheese, my personal favorite, a nice bloomy cheese from the middle of France. Run it through Google Vision API, and it says, it's cheese. Great, thank you, Google. How about Microsoft? So it says that it is pretty sure that it's cheese, but it might be a cake. It's thinking about a recipe for cheese making, sheep milk cheese, Limburger cheese. At least it's trying to get a little specific. Toma cheese, Parmigiano Reggiano. It's just making wild guesses. This is just none of that is accurate. So, or it could be butter. Yeah. How about Clarify? Anyone tried Clarify for image recognition? It's one of the best, and it's amazing. It's a New York City startup, and they've fought off being acquired for a really long time. Clarify has really solid image recognition. They did figure out that it is dairy cheese with, and it's hard, so it's trying to classify it as a type of cheese. That's already good. There's mold in there, it's dairy product, and epicures like it. So yay, Clarify. They're the closest of all of these kind of non-custom models. But for our purposes, because we want to be able to classify cheese by site within the 6 categories that we've designated, we need to create a custom model. So what we are going to do is we have already included Firebase to consume custom machine learning models, because that is the one way I know how to get custom models to work in my mobile app. The thing about this is that it needs to be quantization aware, a quantization aware custom trained machine learning model. What on earth am I talking about? Okay, couple definitions. A model for machine learning is a mathematical model of sample data built using a machine learning algorithm in order to make predictions without being explicitly programmed. That's kind of the generic description of what a machine learning model is. But a quantized model is optimized, basically. So it refers to the process of reducing the number of bits that represent a number. In the context of deep learning, the predominant numerical format used for research and for deployment has so far been 32-bit floating point. However, the desire for reduced bandwidth and compute requirements of deep learning models has driven research into using lower precision numerical formats. Mobile and edge devices like a Coral board, I have one of these. It's Google's little device that runs TPUs on embedded devices. It needs a quantized machine learning model to run on it, because it needs something that's really optimized to run on small devices. Same thing with most mobile apps. It's going to need something that's optimized. The only problem with this is that you're going to lose accuracy for the most part. And this is something that we have to just kind of handle and deal with. Okay, so before I used to take a model, build a model, and then do post-training quantization. So I would quantize the model after I built it. But now I have a new way of doing it, which is quantization-aware training. So I use a library that I found associated to that Coral board that I was talking about. It's TensorFlow Lite's Slim project for quantization-aware training scripts, and I created 4 scripts that are available so that you can look on my GitHub. I also did a PR into TensorFlow's research library, but they're busy. So how to build a custom machine learning model. First, you're going to get data. You need a lot of data, good quality data, diverse data. This is a problem, especially for cheese. So what I did is I take little 6-second videos of various types of cheeses. For example, in the grocery store, I'm the weird one, with the videotaping the cheese. And I went to my local cheese seller and I was like, "Hi, I work for Microsoft. Can I video your cheese?" It's like, sure. So yeah. So that's cool, but you could use FFmpeg then afterwards to convert the video to images. So it just makes it, maybe out of 6 seconds you get about 200 images. They're very, very similar, so you're going to have a little danger of overfitting. But if you do this enough with different kinds of cheese, you'll get something you can work with. So here are the scripts for that, and I'll share all of this later on. It's quite fun to do, especially in the evening when your husband's watching the game and you're in the kitchen training on cheese, and he's like, "What are you doing?" "I'm working." So yes. Okay, so how to build a custom machine learning model. You're going to use TF-Slim, like I said. Then you have to prepare and convert your data. So these are the 4 steps to getting your model into working order. So step 1, you're going to convert your files into TF record data sets. So it divides your data set into training and validation data. And all of these scripts are available on GitHub, but you basically make sure you've got all of your images nicely sorted by name into their folders. And then you run the preparation script. The second thing you have to do is to start your training once that's all done. So the training process uses MobileNet as pre-trained data on which to build a new model, or you can start from scratch and build your own, which is a little bit more difficult and time-consuming on your local machine, on these poor Macs that are having creaking. The quantization occurs at this step, most importantly. So this is quantization-aware training. And you can train the full model, or you can simply retrain the last few layers of your deep model on your data. So I usually just retrain the last few layers, and you can get reasonable accuracy. You run an evaluation script then to figure out how good your model is at predicting against the validation data. So it's just does a little bit of testing. If you don't like the accuracy, you can tweak some parameters in these scripts and then retrain. This is pretty crappy accuracy, 64%. So obviously I went back and started over again. I got 89% accuracy on a model that I did of songbirds because the imagery is better. I'm using images from the Cornell School of Ornithology. And they have all these images of different songbirds, so I just grabbed the ones that are most common, used this process, and got some pretty good accuracy. I'm running that model right now at home on my Coral device, which has a little camera, and I put a bird feeder out, and I'm just kind of trying to get a count of how many birds, because in the US, I'm not sure if it's worldwide, but there's a problem with bird counts going down because of the crappy environment issues that we're dealing with. So I just wanted to get a count of birds. But anyway, so you can get decent accuracy with this, but my impression is it depends on the quality of your data, like everything, right? Garbage in, garbage out. So you try not to put in garbage. Okay, and the last step, you're going to convert your model to TensorFlow Lite format so that you can use it in mobile apps or on your edge devices. So all of these scripts are available for you. So this is a little bit of cheers because you got your accuracy up and you have your model ready. So now you have a generated TensorFlow Lite model, and it comes packaged with a list of labels. And you need those because you're going to import that right into your code base. So for this, I need to leverage Firebase. So I import Firebase from a community-built plugin, NativeScript plugin Firebase, and then initialize that. And then I'm going to go ahead and start taking pictures and sending these images up through Firebase, because Firebase is using MLKit. So here on line 9, you can see that I'm taking my image and querying MLKit. So this allows me to use TensorFlow Lite models within NativeScript via Firebase, but it's all done on device. And that's quite helpful. So at this point, yes, I have my TF Lite file here, I have my labels, and then I'm getting a result of labels that are coming back of what this machine learning model thinks it's looking at, bloomy cheese or blue cheese or whatever. And now it is time for the demo. So let us all hope that everything is settled down nicely, because I brought my stinky cheese from France. It's really pungent, but here it is. Okay, here we go. Can you smell it? It's pretty brutal. Okay, I have here a lovely camembert. I have a Saint-Nectaire. Let's see what it tells me it is. Okay, the trick is to get a bit close. Yes. Yes, it is a bloomy cheese because it's a camembert. Let's try this really smelly Saint-Nectaire, which is from the Auvergne, I think. Yes. Ça pue. Yes, it is a washed rind cheese. And actually, I was surprised because looking at it, I thought it was a bloomy cheese. But it's actually, and the washed rind cheeses are the ones they kind of like rub it in various wines and spices and different, I don't know, marinade, and then let it kind of sink in. And they're the ones that are the stinky cheese. Now we know. So yes, here we are. Okay. So now that I know I'm dealing with a washed rind cheese, I would go back to this bit here, and I would say, okay. So I would need a dry sparkling white, like a Gewürztraminer, Alsatian white, or a red, like a Beaujolais Village, or a Pinot Noir. How wonderful. I just happen to have some, so cheers. That's fantastic. Yay. All right, it's sparkling. Good, good. So what did we learn today, my friends? We learned how to scaffold a tabbed mobile app using NativeScript View. We learned how to use Azure Functions to build an API to query for wine data. We learned how to build out a quantization-aware custom machine learning model using 4 scripts in a data set that we sourced ourselves. And we learned how to create a beautiful interface to use these tools, or at least I think it's beautiful. I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you so much. Arigato, merci, danke. And